Jazz get beat again. Tonight it was Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers. Are the Jazz good? Are they bad? Are they just missing Lauri Markkanen? Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, before we get into this, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks will match up to $100 when you go to prizepicks.com and use promo code HoopsNerd. Guys, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it when you get on there before the game and you kind of look at matchups. It's a blast. Go there, put down $5. They will give you $5. It's free money. It's on the Hoops Nerd channel. It's from me to you. It's free. Go get it. Go do it. And it supports the channel. I would also appreciate it. All right, guys, let's talk about the Utah Jazz. And let's bring up the video here and bring me down. The only other thing that brought me down was Kawhi Leonard. Holy cow. Let's see. So we'll just get it out of the way here. Kawhi Leonard was fantastic tonight. He was, it wasn't fantastic is probably an understatement. He was out of his mind. He shoots 60% from the field. I'm surprised it's only 75% because it felt like he didn't miss a single three tonight, but he goes 75% from three. Perfect from the free throw line. It was vintage, just unstoppable Kawhi. 41 points and 5 assists, 5 rebounds. But what was crazy about tonight for him was that when the Jazz were making that late run, they get the game within like 8 points. They just give the ball to Kawhi, and he went and he just would score, and he put the game away. He is phenomenal. He's the best player on that team. You know, I was actually able to go to the game tonight, and I was close, and you could just see him, and he's just like a monster physically, and it's just so good. He really is, all the jokes about Kawhi that he's this robot, he's the machine. It's really true. He is just so mechanical and methodical in how he destroys you. And it was really the reason the Jazz lost tonight. I mean, there were some things. Some of the missed free throws were so heartbreaking for the Jazz. 2 for Keyonte. Jordan Clarkson misses a free throw. You had Simone Fontecchio at the beginning of the second half go to the free throw line. He misses both of them. And this game actually was relatively close in the late fourth quarter. The Jazz had a shot, but things like missing free throws, especially when you're missing Lauri Markkanen, that is brutal. But let's go through this a little bit. Obviously, that's the big thing for this Jazz team is they're going, the Clippers are 100% healthy. They have their best players, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. James Harden looked okay, although I felt like Keyonte did a pretty good job on him. He is just, James Harden, that was not a great pickup. I'm not going to lie, because he just does not, he's not the same James Harden that he once was. He's just not. But he does seem like he's willing to facilitate, and they do get the ball to those two guys in Paul George and Kawhi, and they dominated, and so that's all you really need to happen. So we'll see how good they are, but they were definitely better than the Jazz tonight. Simone Fontecchio, what I do love when I'm watching him, and especially tonight when I got a chance to be up close and watch it close, is he battles. He really does. He really tries, and it's fun to watch. How effective it is sometimes, I don't know, but he does battle. And I do think when Lauri Markkanen comes back, Simone Fontecchio can come off the bench, and he provides some nice things. I mean, tonight, I actually was surprised that he shot 40% from three because it felt like he was missing them. But he does knock down 2 for 5. That's pretty good. 8 points tonight. But it's just not quite as impactful as you want, and that's fine. You're not expecting Simone Fontecchio to become this superstar for the Jazz. But you are hoping he can do what he did tonight just off the bench. If he can contribute off the bench, that's going to be a nice thing for this Jazz team, especially when Markkanen comes back. And the Jazz are missing Markkanen, guys. They absolutely are. When you consider the 24 points per game that he brings, his high efficiency, and the thing that you really see that, where you can really see them missing him is in the offensive rating for the Jazz that has just kind of bottomed out since he left. Their Jazz are just missing his shooting. They're missing that efficiency, his free throws, just the 24 efficient points per game that he brings. And if the Jazz make some moves this trade deadline, they get rid of a few guys, they can really maximize on that efficiency and become a better team. But there's some things that are just not all that fixable for the Jazz. Tonight, John Collins, I brought my daughter, and she's like, who is that guy? Because he's my favorite. He was awesome tonight. There were a few things, that with John Collins, there's some deficiencies there. But overall, when he's playing well, he is a big time help. Tonight, he was 58% from the field. The three ball, you could tell that it wasn't quite falling tonight, but he did knock down one of them. And also free throws, but also 13 rebounds for Collins and 12 for Kessler. It's interesting. This should have been higher for Kessler. He struggled boxing out Zubac. In fact, I'm not even quite sure what Zubac had 12 rebounds, but he really made Walker Kessler struggle. And there were times where doesn't tell the whole story. Kawhi Leonard had like 3 offensive rebounds, and watching up close really just, and maybe you see it from TV, but look at this. 5 for offensive rebounds for Zubac, 3 for Kawhi Leonard, and these 3 were created by Zubac, where he's like tipping the ball out and Kawhi Leonard's getting it and scoring, and they were backbreaking. So just a tough night for the Jazz. I mean, you'll look at the rebounds and you'll say, oh, they did a good job rebounding, but it really they struggled. Let me pull out this chat to make sure I'm not missing anything. Looks like a lot of people are going to bed. But we're up on this channel, and maybe you guys can listen tomorrow and leave a comment or whatever. But anyways, that was a big thing. I do got to talk about, John Collins, I just have to say he was pretty darn solid tonight. I think there's a little bit of a ceiling of what he is. We're kind of seeing that. But when he is playing at this level, hey, Diego's here. Welcome, Diego. But that ceiling can be pretty high, especially when the 3 ball's falling, the rebounding. He had 4 blocked shots tonight. This was a really nice John Collins game, and he was a big reason they were in this game. It really just comes down to Kawhi Leonard. The Jazz did not have an answer for him, and sometimes there's guys that just have big-time nights, and Kawhi Leonard tonight just looked he just looked automatic. Everything, he just looked good. I don't know what else to say. He was freaking awesome. It was vintage Kawhi Leonard tonight. And the Jazz struggled. Walker Kessler, and this is what I wanted to talk about a little bit. He looks disconnected a little bit to me. I don't know if he got monstarred this offseason, if Steve Kerr ruined him. I don't know what stuff is going on mentally with him, but he just looks not quite right. 44% from the field for Kessler is just not the same player as last year. You can see that in those stats when you're watching him during the game. He does have 4 block shots tonight, and maybe this is, a little harsh on him. 12 points, 3 assists, 4 blocks, 2 steals. Those are great numbers, to be honest. There's just a little bit on the offensive end and a little bit where you're just like, he's just a step slow sometimes. He just looks a little off. He's missing little close ones, not dunking it. There's a little bit of ferocity that's missing from him. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't know if he's tired from not, we talked about this last game. If it's, going to USA basketball straight to training camp, and if he's tired, if he needed an off season to kind of recover, I don't know. But Walker Kessler doesn't quite look right. And he looked a little better coming back from rest from the injury, so maybe that tells you something. But he does not look like there's a lot of joy in what he's doing. And I know he mentioned that he's trying to figure that out. And, all thoughts go to Walker Kessler that he can find that special something, get his Monstar soul back into his body. But it has been a little bit not quite there. That said, you look at the raw numbers, and they're pretty darn good, 3 assists is solid. 2 steals, 4 blocks. He did some nice things, but it just wasn't there. Jordan Clarkson, something weird is going on with Jordan Clarkson, guys. Laird Doman, he has some fun tweets where he kind of shows some things. Keyonte looked mad tonight in the huddle, and I could kind of see it as well. On the sidelines, he was just mad about something. The vibes were not all that great, and I don't know if there are good vibes coming from Jordan Clarkson, to be honest. Apparently, at one point, he goes into the tunnel and is just like throwing things around, punching water coolers and stuff like that, just angry. I don't know what is up with Jordan Clarkson, but it feels like he's not performing to the level he feels good about. 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He shoots just 22% from the field. 6 points tonight for Jordan Clarkson in his return. And I know he comes back from injury. It feels like he's probably pressing to play, to want to just kind of improve. And I think, honestly, he wants to play well for this Jazz team. It's just kind of the type of guy he is. But he doesn't seem right. That something seems off. And it feels like there's some there's off things going on with this Jazz team. There's some guys that are playing hard and have good attitudes. And I would just say the attitude from Jordan Clarkson doesn't seem all that great all the time. I mean, it's not like he's this bad guy or anything like that, but it doesn't seem great right now. And I don't know what it is, and I wonder if he's just frustrated with his own play. But the duo of Keyonte George and Jordan Clarkson is not perfect. It doesn't quite flow like you would hope it does. Keyonte had a nice night tonight. It's nice to see him have a bounce back night with his numbers. 3 assists, 15 points, 5 for 11 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. You'll take it. That's great. He did have those 2 missed free throws that were, it wasn't the game, but just missing free throws is frustrating. He's a better shooter than that. He shouldn't be missing these. But anyways, it just doesn't quite work. It works better than everything else the Jazz have, but it's just not super fluid. And Walker Kessler and John Collins, Simone Fontecchio. The thing where Keyonte George was mad about, I believe he was pretty mad about Simone Fontecchio flaring out to the 3-point line on that one transition play where Keyonte tried to pass the ball, and he wanted Simone Fontecchio to come to the basket, and he was mad about it. And there's times where you're close, and I'm watching Will Hardy. He has to direct John Collins a lot. It feels like things are not quite perfect with guys understanding where they need to be, things like that. It's not quite there. And so I don't know if Jordan Clarkson, I do know it's not going to work long term. It just doesn't. And the proof is in the this is great radio right now, but the proof is just in the standings for the Jazz and their record. It's just not. I mean, they're 7-15 now, number 6 in the lottery. If it ended today, the proof is just in the record. They are just not able to quite move very fluidly, and Jordan Clarkson is just having a very tough year. When you look at the stats for Jordan Clarkson for the season, I mean, it's pretty rough. 17 points per game is pretty good, but then when you look at the percentages, he's shooting 40% from the field and 30% from 3. That 30% actually went up from what it was recently, but 30% from 3 is actually the lowest 3-point percentage of his career. So he is having the worst shooting season of his career, and that is part of why the Jazz are struggling right now. Really comes down to it. And I think the major thing with Jordan Clarkson is his best role is likely coming off the bench. It's why he won 6th Man of the Year with the Jazz, and he's being asked to do a lot of things that are not really his strengths, and he's struggling. I mean, he did have 5 assists tonight, so that's solid, but the Jazz need him to be more efficient shooting the ball, and he just hasn't been. And defensively, it's the same problem. He's not a good defensive player. I felt Keyonte George actually battled, and being up close, he's bigger than you realize. He's pretty big, and he has good size. So I like Keyonte George's size at the 1. Jordan Clarkson's about the same size as Keyonte George, but if you have Keyonte George at the 2, it would be the same issue. You're guarding guys that are bigger and stronger and more effective, and Jordan Clarkson just has not been super effective defensively or offensively, for that matter. So that is really a recipe for a loss. And when you look at this starting unit, should we be all that surprised? I mean, Keyonte George, rookie. Jordan Clarkson, who's typically a 6th man. Walker Kessler is having an off season. He's a second-year guy. Sophomore slump is a real thing, and I think Walker Kessler's feeling that. John Collins is a very nice role player, but he is not. I mean, tonight was probably his best game of the season in a lot of ways. 20 points, 13 rebounds, 4 blocks. But that's kind of the most you can expect from John Collins. And then Simone Fontecchio, who, probably wasn't even in the rotation for half the season last year. And now he's starting. So should we be that surprised the Jazz did not win this game? Probably not. And the fact that they were pretty close is a good sign. We got to give props to 3 guys. Colin Sexton, Taylor Horton-Tucker, and Kelly Olynyk. Taylor Horton-Tucker, in my opinion, is one of his best games of the year. He played really good defensively. 15 points. He had 1 block, 1 steal. I felt like he was really solid defensively. He wasn't perfect, but he was solid tonight. And like we've talked about, I look at Taylor Horton-Tucker as a defensive player in a lot of ways, and it helps you kind of appreciate what he does well and not be so frustrated with what he doesn't. But he shot the ball well tonight. He had some really nice plays, so props to Taylor Horton-Tucker. Kelly Olynyk was awesome tonight. He had that one play that was kind of weird, but where he got stuck on his pivot foot in the paint, and you're just like, Kelly, just shoot it. But overall, he was solid tonight. I mean, 4 for 5 from the field. He hit the 1-3 he took, perfect from the free throw line, and rebound, assisted. It was just kind of vintage Kelly Olynyk. Did a lot of things to help the Jazz win. It's too bad they didn't, but you can just see how Kelly Olynyk off the bench is a really nice player for this Jazz team. Let's see. And then Colin Sexton had a nice night. I mean, it's funny, we say nice night, and all these guys struggle to shoot the ball. The Jazz just aren't shooting the ball very well, to be honest. But Sexton had some big moments tonight when the Jazz were making a run. He was a part of that. He had a big 3 at one point. 3 assists for Sexton. I actually felt like he played a controlled game tonight. So you got to give credit to Sexton for his ability to just play kind of within the offense. And I thought it was good. Ochai Agbaji was 2 for 4 from the field. He actually hit 1 for 2 from 3. So that's nice to see. He's just an athlete, and he had some nice defensive moments tonight. He also had some boneheaded kind of fouls. But when you look at it, he had just 2. The one that they called was so lame, by the way. The one inside. And by the way, can we just say the NBA officials are dumb? Like, they're dumb. I don't know. It's crazy. When you're up close and you see what they're doing, and like that half-court call they called that wasn't close is crazy to me that they can. I mean, honestly, my opinion of, and I've been to some games where I've been pretty close, but tonight I was half-court, which was nice. So I could see the game a little better. Not, when you're behind the basket, it's not quite as easy, but when you're half court, you kind of see it a little better. And they're not very good. Like, it's kind of surprising how dumb they are sometimes. What they choose to call, what they choose not to. Sometimes is honestly kind of like, are you guys just in on some? It really is weird. That half court call was so bad. It was so bad. Honestly, so bad. And the flops they allow to happen, it's crazy. They must know that these flops are flops, and they'll just call it anyway. They're not very good. It's really not very good. And unimpressive officiating is, it is what it is. They're just not very good at their jobs, but it's crazy. I I yelled as loud as I could to number 52, like how much he had on it. I probably should calm down. But I had a lot of fun tonight. It was fun to see the game close. Taylor Hendricks, it was too bad the shot wasn't falling. But I tell you what, he looks more confident to me. And I'm excited that he's getting those minutes out there. He got the minutes over. Actually, that was kind of the interesting thing tonight. Yurtseven goes from starting to not playing at all. And Taylor Hendricks gets the minutes tonight. And, he was a +4. And I do think that his defense really does affect things. It's pretty fun to watch. And that 3-point shot looks good. I know it didn't fall tonight, but it's typically going to fall a lot more. It's kind of tough for Hendricks out there because you're on the floor with THT and Sexton, and they are just not very good distributors. They're just not. I mean, I know they get, 5 assists for THT and 3 for Sexton, but that's for like, what is that? Almost 40 minutes of combined play. And guess what? The ball's not swinging all that much when they're on the floor. And so it's kind of tough for Hendricks. It would be nice to see the Jazz, even if they go out and get, I don't know, they just need kind of a backup point guard for Keyonte, that probably a veteran backup point guard that can just distribute the ball is going to be a wonder for this Jazz team, because it's just not good ball movement. And those guys just really aren't really good facilitators. They're just not. And it's part of why this Jazz offense is struggling this year compared to last year. It really is. Last year when you had Mike Conley, things were going pretty well. And we're starting to see those things get better with Keyonte George. But, man, that backup unit with Colin Sexton and THT is just, and, you have to say they had a pretty solid night. But the offense is just it just does not flow with them. And so, anyways, having said that, I still think Taylor Hendricks is figuring some things out. He's learning some things. He looks confident. He's impacting the game. He gets his hands in the lane. He had that one steal. Tonight he only plays 11 minutes. You don't see a lot, but I wouldn't take a lot of I wouldn't look into this too much, because when you are sitting on the floor with THT and Colin Sexton, it's really hard to get the ball, especially at the 3-point line. So many of their assists are like little dump offs to the big, or like an alley-oop to Kessler or John Collins and things like that. So, and those are nice, but you're not getting kickouts to the three-point line. You're not getting things within the offense that are creating high points, high points per possession shots. So pretty tough. But I did think that was interesting. Yurtseven doesn't start. Kessler did, and I hope Kessler starts figuring it out, but it was nice to see him get 31 minutes. Zubac is a tough cover. I mean, he's kind of just a standard starting big in the NBA, but he's big, and he knows how to play, and he's smart. And Kessler at worst is probably a Utah Jazz version of Zubac. If he can kind of figure some things out and be a little bit better, he can be a little bit better version of that, which would be nice. But it's, Kessler's got to figure out who he is and what he wants to be. And a lot of that just has to be his mentality. Just go out there and just play hard and dominate games. I think this is just my prediction, but I think we're due for a big Kessler game where he just looks like dominant. And it'll be nice to see because I think he needs it. I think mentally he's kind of struggling. So, all right, guys, I think it's a late one tonight. That probably is all we've got for tonight. But let's do our quick Tankathon. We're number 6 in the lottery, so we've got to just give a roll of the dice. When we're not in the lottery, we don't do this. When we are in the lottery, we do. All right, let's see where the Jazz fall. Let's see. So, like we said, the Jazz are now number 6. And guess what? Memphis is getting Ja Morant back. So, I don't know. We might be looking at the number 5 here at some point. Can you believe Detroit's lost 19 in a row? That's crazy. Anyways, let's see where the Jazz fall with this lottery. Oh, Utah gets bumped again. Number 7. According to Tankathon, that gives them Stephon Castle, who I like. I like Stephon Castle. If the Jazz come up with Jacoby Walter or Stephon Castle, that's a pretty cool draft. I know they're probably not going to be game changers big time, but you never know. Stephon Castle is fun to watch. I'm going to go watch more Stephon Castle highlights because I like the guy. Zachary Reisaker is shooting like 45% from 3 in Europe. It's crazy. So, interesting prospects. All right, let's give a shout out to our All-Stars tonight. Guys, thank you for being up with me late and watching. Let's give a shout out to Christian House, Money to Haas, Dirty Jazz Car Wash Channel, The Outlaw, Jesse James Nelson, Joshua Hansen, The Danish Destroyer, Ryan Perry, The Legend, Ezekiel Raicibe, The Man from Down Under, Yes, Jake C. Can, See Ya, Lex Later, Built Ford Tough, Alexander Tufts, Jorge Arrizaga, Mimigo de Abajo, Jordan, The Goat Best Rule, TGD, Total Game Domination, Tyson Price, The Price is Right, Austin R. Grant, Editor Extraordinaire, DW to CB, Darren Williams to Carlos Boozer, Patrick Kukubo, The Connoisseur, and Robert Hall of Fame. Thank you guys to all the All-Stars, big-time supporters of the channel, and thank you to all members of the channel. If you'd like to support the channel, I would appreciate it. Go down and hit join. It supports the channel. And if you haven't already, go to PrizePicks.com. Use promo code HoopsNerd. Guys, I will talk to you next time.